From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your morning update.
Kent's Meats and Grocery is much more than a grocery store. We carry a full line of quality meats, local and organic vegetables, and a large variety of fish, Green Mountain Smart Control pellet grills, and a full deli case of sandwiches and side dishes.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Meteorologist Mike Krueger, and it is a cold start to the day. Any showers that we are seeing out there, that's going to be about it for the morning. It's going to be very few and far between, even a few snow flurries up to the north as well, but nothing major, nothing to be concerned about. There are still plenty of chain requirements out there, despite the fact that it's not snowing right now for most areas, but it's, of course, left over from what we saw yesterday and last night. So a lot of chain requirements. Do be prepared for the fact that there are going to be a lot of slick roads, and all of them, for the most part, are east of I-5, with the exception of southern Trinity County on Highway 36 West, where we are seeing some chain requirements there as well. By the way, you can always watch the 24-hour streaming channel on Roku, Amazon Fire Stick, anywhere YouTube is available, including your smart TV. On all of those platforms, just search for Weather NorCal, and you'll be good to go. Take a look at this photo that was sent in by Brian. He labeled it, had some visitors. And yeah, that's always a nice welcome visitor. Always nice to see some of the beautiful wildlife that we have in our area. And if you want to share your photo, just like Brian did, it's very easy to do that. All you got to do is go to the free Weather NorCal app and scroll to the very bottom, and you can share your photos from there. You just might see it here on the morning update and on Coffee with Krueger at 6:30 in the morning, so be sure to check that out. All right, here's a look at your Krueger's Quickcast for your Thursday, January 8th. All right, here we go. We're going to be looking at a cold start to the day. I think some of us in the valley could see some patchy frost, so if you have a car that's parked outside this morning, be prepared for the fact that there may be some frost on the windshield this morning. Temperatures in the 20s for many of the higher elevations. Now, you can see that colder air that's in place as we speak. That will be moving out and is going to be replaced by high pressure. Now, theoretically, that usually brings us warmer temperatures, but not necessarily the case 100% this time. Now, there are a few lingering showers this morning, but by midday, afternoon, that's all pretty much out of here. I do expect to probably see a little bit more clearing that we're seeing here than from the HRRR forecast model, but drier conditions bottom line. Top of Douglas, it's at 42 inches right now with a groomed and rider patch conditions out there. No chains on I-5 or Highway 89, but still probably some ice and snow on the Ski Park Highway. So for today, temperatures are going to struggle, I think, in the valley to even reach the 50s. So we'll call it right around 50, give or take. 30s and 40s. Yes, 30s for your highs for many of you in the higher elevations, and around 50 for the coast. Tonight, another cold one. I think we could drop down to the low to mid 30s in the valley, teens and 20s for the mountains, and even some low to mid 30s for the coast. There could be some frost, that is, for the coast. All right, so here's your 7-day outlook. One of the things that we do have to kind of put a disclaimer on is the fact that you're seeing temperatures in the mid to upper 60s as we go into next week. That will all depend if the fog decides to develop or not. If the fog doesn't stick around, then yeah, we could be talking about 70 degrees by the middle of next week. Otherwise, if that fog stays fairly persistent, then it's going to be much cooler than what you're seeing there. For the coast, you got temperatures generally upper 50s to low 60s after today. Still cold even for the inland areas and for Trinity County. Taking a look at Siskiyou, Modoc County, the eastern mountains, also eventually seeing that warming trend. But look at today. I mean, again, only reaching the mid-30s for your highs, but it is beginning to warm back up toward the end of the week and this upcoming weekend. So it's dry, but still cold for today. A dry and mild pattern is what we've got here in the long range. Now, are we talking about the return of Thule, or what's known as radiation fog? Yeah, there's a very good chance we could see that. We've got the low-level moisture. We've seen a lot of rain, high pressure building in, giving us that stagnant weather pattern. Now, one of the reasons why we think it may happen is this is indicative of what we saw several weeks ago. We saw prior to the fog several weeks ago a lot of rain. There was a lot of low-level moisture. And then what happened was the fog developed, and it stuck around for weeks. Now, this dry pattern is what we're going to see here as far as the eye can see. At this point, at least for the next couple of weeks, if not longer. All right, we're going to get into all of that in our Deeper Dive forecast, sponsored by Shasta Hearing Aids.
Frank, come help with the dishes.
What?
The dishes!
I heard it the first time. I just got back from Shasta Hearing Aids, but she doesn't know it yet. What?
Forget it.
All right, so we take a look at the radar, and another thing I want to point out, look at the lightning strikes. If you live in the valley, especially east side of the valley, and you looked off to the east yesterday evening, last night, you may have seen some lightning strikes. You may have seen the sky light up a bit here. Probably was an actually gorgeous sight. And it's this time of the year, we don't have to really be concerned about lightning for fires, right? I mean, it's pretty moist out there. But we did see a lot of that activity last night as expected, and now it's pretty much drying out. Now, what we can see here and really kind of point out is we've got a ridge of high pressure right here, all right? This is what we call a dirty ridge. There's still a lot of cloud cover associated with that, but this trough of low pressure right here, this is colder air that just really began to work its way in yesterday. So the colder air helped to bring us those lower snow levels, and on top of that, it's really making for a cold start to the day today. But eventually that high pressure, you see that? It's building in. And once it builds in, it's going to get even stronger by the time we go into next week. And this is going to take you all the way through the end of next week. There's next Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Look at this ridge. It just continues to build and build and build and get stronger. Now, we're going a ways out. This is not going to be exact. But again, this is something I was talking about when we were looking at the weather headlines. This right here is the basic same pattern that we saw during that long stretch of that Thule and that radiation fog, right? That's the pattern that we're looking at. What happened over the last several weeks? We saw a lot of rainfall. So we still have a lot of moisture at the surface. You put stagnation in the air. You clear things out at night. What happens? Well, we start to see that radiation fog begin to develop, otherwise known as Thule fog around here. And that can get quite persistent. If the winds don't pick up, the air is stagnant, there's nothing to mix out the fog. We're still at a fairly low elevation or low angle of the sun during the winter, so the sun has a hard time penetrating through those clouds at that lower angle, and so the fog tends to stick around a little bit longer. Now, the angle of the sun is a little bit higher now than it was a couple of weeks ago. We're kind of getting into that where the angle of the sun is getting higher and higher. So that may have a minor impact on allowing some areas to see maybe a little bit more clearing in the afternoon. But I wanted to show you as we continue to monitor things, and I got a little button happy, but I want to show you, let's take you back. Let's see if it goes back for us. We'll see if it goes back. There we go. This is a look at the forecast visibility. We're going to take you through Friday, right? Right. So it's not showing any fog just yet. And we take a look at the winds, that's something we got to take a look at. Because if the winds are fairly calm, that will help to at least not mix out any fog should it develop. And as it stands right now, there's Friday morning. You know, if we keep it below, say, 5 miles per hour, there's a very good chance if fog develops, it's just not going to mix out. And that's essentially what we got here for Saturday morning. Let's take you into Sunday. Sunday morning, look at the winds. They're still fairly calm. Now, again, the humidity is the other thing that we need to take a look at. The humidity may be high enough. So I think as we get closer and closer to the weekend, we're going to see the potential for that fog to begin to develop. We'll have to kind of watch that. But overall, minus the fog, we've got drier than normal conditions. And outside of the fog, we're going to be looking at warmer conditions, warmer than normal conditions. And again, what you're seeing here is if the fog doesn't develop. If the fog doesn't develop, we've got sunny skies and temperatures most likely even into the low 70s by the time we get into the middle and latter part of next week. And then you can see temperatures kind of dipping a little bit, but that's not really a sign of much. It's just that high pressure breaking down a little bit here. But bottom line, if that fog decides to develop and become fairly persistent through next week, these temperatures are going to be more like this and probably even below the mid-50s, probably somewhere in the upper 40s to low 50s for those daytime highs. That fog really does cool things off. All right, so now let's talk about the high surf advisory. That's still in effect until 4 o'clock today. You can see breaking waves of 20 to 25 feet. And there's also the risk for sneaker waves, so it's just not a good idea to be on the beaches here. And this is right here, a hazardous seas warning. So that hazardous seas warning is in effect here through this afternoon. Let's take a look at the wave heights, and you can see they're fairly high here for today. But the good news is, by Friday, they are going to start to retreat. So it's not going to last forever as far as these high wave heights and the high surf warning and all that good stuff, right? So you can see those winds from that's not good stuff though, by the way. North winds at about 10 to 15 knots. Waves from the northwest at 6 feet at 7 seconds, and from the northwest at 17 feet at about 16 seconds, and there's that hazardous seas warning for today. All right, so here's your neighborhood forecast, sponsored in part by Dignity Health. You've got those temperatures in the low 40s, 40 degrees out in Trinity Center, 43 degrees in Big Bar, and 43 for Ruth. Basically just a cold day, essentially any way you look at it. And, a lot of us are going to see a bit more sunshine than we've seen, but don't let that deceive you, because it's still going to be on the cold side. Look at that. Fort Jones only 38, 36 out in Etna, 33 in McDowell, 32 for a high today in Tennant. Okay, we take you out to Modoc County, low to mid 30s, 34 degrees in Canby, 35 out in El Turris, and 8 in about 34 for the Eastern Mountains. Look at that, temperature is only in the 30s as well. Some of the lower elevations getting into the 40s, about 46 degrees in Paradise, 43 in Shingletown. But Bernie, only about 37. Susanville, about 36. For the Valley neighborhood forecast of the south, I think some of us may even struggle to get out of the 40s. It's going to be a cool day, upper 40s to low 50s for those daytime highs. But we are going to, pending any fog, see a gradual increase in those temperatures as we go into next week. 50 degrees for Redding, 49 degrees for Bella Vista, 47 in Lakehead, and 48 degrees in Whiskeytown. There's your 7-day forecast for Redding. Those temperatures mid to upper 50s by Saturday, Sunday. Low to mid 60s by Monday, Tuesday, possibly flirting with that 70-degree mark should we see those sunny skies. All right, that's a look at your morning update. I'll be back again at noon, your latest forecast. Have a great morning.
When you see flashing lights, someone's life depends on us.
And while we're out helping crash victims, we need your help to keep us safe. Move over, slow down, it's the law, it protects everyone.
Our crews are out here every day, keeping the roads safe for you and your family.
We're often the last ones on scene, and we want to make it home safe too.
Protect those who protect you, slow down and move over.